Head to Court Furniture Clearance Center for up to 70% off new retail prices. Stock is updated regularly, so you never know what kind of treasures you'll find. We offer a wide variety of stylish furniture for any budget, and every piece is Court certified, so you can let your personality show in every room. And now through April 3rd is our tax refund sale. Mention Refund 25 and take 25% off living room and dining room sets. Use your refund and refresh your home with stylish finds from Court Furniture Clearance Center. Go to CourtClearanceFurniture.com today.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the preeminent, most dominable, fantastical, amazingle, you might even say it's mediocre, podcast reviewing movies on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock by two people in two different states today. This is Damn You Hollywood, and here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
I like how you flubbed up the intro there.
I didn't have anything prepared tonight.
I never have anything prepared.
I usually have an idea of, like, there's something on my mind, you know, and I was like, okay, well, I'll something that's just resonating in my head. And I'm like, oh, I'll just run with that. I do that a lot with Jesse too. Like a lot of the intros I do with him are whatever thing is in my head. We literally had the discussion 10 seconds ago over that I was going to do an intro tonight and play you on versus you just coming on, which means I really didn't have time to think about it, except for the Levi's commercial that I just your body work it's da 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 ooh wee, and there was no way to work that into the intro.
Well, you're just not trying hard enough if you can't work that into the intro.
Ooh-wee.
All right, anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to Damn You Hollywood. As Mark said, probably the most mediocre podcast recorded Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, featuring two guys in different states reviewing a movie. And if we put enough qualifiers on it, we reached the level of mediocrity, so yay us. All right, tonight we will be reviewing, God help us all, Dumbo, the latest Disney live-action remake of a classic animated feature. And there's no beating around the bush here, man. This thing sucks. I got nothing. I have almost nothing positive to say about this movie. Which I know, horrible shock to all of you people, but in a related shock, Mark has almost nothing positive to say about it.
Yeah, I know that, you know, the trick with this show, is he comes in a little harsh, I come in a little light, we meet somewhere in the middle, and the great fun is in hearing us argue about these things, and then turn and lambaste the critics for being even worse at their job than we are. And I'm sorry tonight you're not going to get a whole lot of that, because in a rare occurrence, I thought Dumbo sucked. I haven't hated a movie in a long time that I've seen from Disney, let alone. I mean, look, there are movies that have done badly. There were movies that were not good, and I didn't hate them. I like a lot of trash, as we know. But this...
We know, Mark.
This was not well made. This was not well written. Some of it was not well acted.
Most.
And I think its worst offense, and not in the Ghostbusters or Star Wars prequel, you've ruined my childhood sense, but, Dumbo, the cartoon, resonates with me in a lot of ways. And the heart of that film, I was talking to Robert about this before we started tonight. The heart of Dumbo is after Jumbo goes mad, and and rightly so, picking on her kid, and runs around the circus and destroys everything, and they have to lock her up, and the thing says "Mad Elephant," and the little mouse takes Dumbo and says, here's a chance to reunite with your mother. And all you see is her trunk caressing him and rocking him, and and Dumbo looks adorable, and you hear "Baby Mine" in the background. If you don't have any kind of emotional reaction to it, you're dead inside.
I already knew that, thanks.
But I mean that really is. It's like the movie just kind of leads up to that, and then and then there's sort of the following action after that. Plus, I also like to hear the crows thing when I see an elephant fly, but I'm just racist like that. Anywho, the point is that if you're going to remake Dumbo, if nothing else, even if your child actor can't act, even if your CGI is not great, even if you don't have a story that's narratively cohesive, you should at least get the baby mind scene right. Like, whoever was going to write and direct this thing should have come in with a test footage of just the baby mind scene, and if it works, great, you get the project. Here's a couple of hundreds of millions of dollars. Go do Dumbo. We trust you. But if you fuck it up, don't give it to him. And say what you will about Tim Burton, but
he's not good.
Between him and Aaron Kruger, they fucked up the baby mind scene badly, and it not only ruins this picture, which wasn't good to begin with. It kind of poured gasoline on what was already a shit fire, but it also kind of takes away from the original film. Like, if not, and maybe the opposite of that is true too. It makes you realize just how good the original scene is compared to the horseshit they tried to put on you in this one. In short, the worst offense about Dumbo in 2019 is that it missed the point of the original Dumbo by like a country mile.
Yeah, here's all I'm going to say about this before we get into the plot synopsis and whatnot, but they thought it was a good idea to have Tim Burton direct this movie. Tim Burton, who managed to monumentally cock up Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I'm not entirely sure how it's possible to ruin that simple a story that badly, but boy howdy did he.
He also turned Alice in Wonderland into Lord of the Rings, or at least he tried.
It failed miserably. I hate that movie. Like, I know it made a lot of money, and I know for some reason people like it. I saw it. I didn't see it in theaters, but I finally got around to watching it and went, how?
It made so much money it got a sequel, and the sequel was god-awful.
I think, while the sequel is worse than the original, I don't think it's orders of magnitude worse. Which ought to tell you how much I disliked the original. But not only that, so not only do you have Tim Burton, who's made, like one objectively good movie in 20 years, you have it written by Aaron Kruger, whose writing credits, this luminary of the written word and silver screen, primarily include Transformers Dark of the Moon and Transformers Age of Extinction.
I want to go to bed at some point on time, so I'm not going to bite on that particular...
No. Look, that's not a shot. That's not intended to be a shot at, our long-running gag about how you love that movie and I hate it. But that's, this guy's writing credits are... there's a lot of stuff that he kind of, co-writes, where he gets a writer and a producer credit. But, man, none of this is good. He co-wrote Revenge of the Fallen. He wrote Dark of the Moon. He wrote Age of Extinction, which are just terribly written movies. I mean, look, if you want to enjoy Age of Extinction, fair. I think it's terrible. It's a terrible movie. It's a dumpster fire. But if you want to sit back and watch it burn because it burns nice, fine. Don't tell me it's well written. Right, of all the things you want to defend about Age of Extinction, do not defend the writing of that movie because it's shit. He co-wrote Ghost in the Shell. Was one of the I think the primary writer for the Brothers Grimm movie that features Matt Damon and Heath Ledger from a few years ago. It's just not good either. This guy just doesn't write good movies. He wrote Reindeer Games. You trusted the man who wrote Reindeer Games with Dumbo. Who thought this was a good idea?
Well, Tim Burton did, obviously, because that's his writing partner.
And the best thing Tim Burton ever did had no attachment to this individual at all. In fact, I'd say the best three things Tim Burton ever did probably were just utterly devoid of the influence of one Aaron Kruger.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Kruger wrote Batman.
Look, again, Tim Burton's done three decent things. Batman, only the original. Batman Returns is not a good movie.
Yeah, Batman Returns is hot garbage.
Probably Frankenweenie, I think, is pretty decent. And then Big Fish, which reduces me to an ugly crying mess every time I watch it. Because it's also the least Burton-y of Burton's films. So anyway, just again on the production side, just before we really get into this, I just had to say that you trusted a guy who screwed up Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and a guy who wrote frickin' Reindeer Games and Revenge of the Fallen, and Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction. You're lucky anyone paid to see this at all. Oh, God. All right, so with that out of the way, here's your plot synopsis in case you're one of the 20 people who hasn't seen or read a synopsis of the original Dumbo. We open with a traveling circus in 1919 that sets out from Sarasota, Florida, because Mark Radulich's family had not yet settled in that area and then promptly kicked out Danny DeVito all those years ago.
Okay, try again. They set out from Sarasota because I believe that's where Ringling Brothers is set up.
I don't know. I'll take your word for that. I'm just trying to throw shade at you.
Okay.
I know your people actually come from New York.
Yes, they do.
That's not a Jewish joke either. Mark's literally from New York, guys.
Yes, I am.
Anyway, we get a bit of I got a serious laugh out of that opening bit where they just do the map thing and they avoid all the major cities and they're playing these small towns, and the craziest thing is at least two of them I know and one of them I've been to. Hey, we're in Joplin, Missouri. I've been there. I've installed home security systems in that town. It hasn't changed a whole lot since they set this film in a fictional field. So we're following this circus. We then get to what is supposed to be kind of the heart of the movie, I guess. The Colin Farrell playing a World War I veteran who comes back without his left arm. Reunites with his children. He was the equestrian performer. He and his wife for this particular circus, and he wants to come back from the war and just get to work. And it turns out that the circus has been pretty hard hit by the latest bout of spate of influenza, because there were no vaccinations or flu shots back then, so the flu killed people. And to help keep the circus afloat, the ringmaster, Danny DeVito, sold off all of the horses and a bunch of his personal possessions. But he reunites with his children, and he gets assigned to tending the elephants, where we meet Mrs. Jumbo and a pointlessly abusive animal trainer whose only purpose is to be the abusive jackwagon who prompts her murderous rampage. This elephant has been purchased by Danny DeVito because the elephant is pregnant and about to give birth, and he could get a 2-for-1 deal, and everyone loves a baby, and we can use the baby elephant a calf. We can use the calf to attract the bigger audiences and continue to keep everything afloat for another 6 months. The mother has her baby. The baby is Dumbo with his comically oversized ears that immediately makes... kind of makes Danny DeVito freak out, like, no, fix this. He's got giant ears. No one will think it's a real elephant. They sell tickets for seeing the baby elephant, and then the baby elephant's ears fall out, because of course they do. The baby is harassed by the audience because they need the audience to be jack-offs in order for the mother to go on a murderous rampage. There's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of character acts in X way because FU reasons.
Because the plot said so.
So the mother goes on a bit of a rampage, knocks over part of the tent, which falls on the abusive jackwagon of a animal trainer because, hey, murder and accidental murder in a kids movie.
He got what he deserved, don't you understand?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I drive down the street on occasion and think, man, it'd be so easy. But, so the elephant gets locked up, Dumbo becomes inconsolable because his mother's taken away from him, because, really, a calf that I think at this point is legitimately less than, 3 months old should really be removed from the mother and the primary source of nutrition, and then fed a diet of peanuts. While the Colin Farrell's kids, who again are supposed to make up the heart of this movie, but man, I thought I was dead inside, and then I saw these kids act. They try to make him feel better. They try playing some games with him, including, hey, let's keep this feather in the air by blowing on it, and the elephant inhales it through his trunk. He sneezes, and the force of the sneeze causes him to defy all known laws of physics and physiology and start flying with the force of his ears. Now, let me be clear. That's the only time I'm going to mention the absurdity of the way they have the elephant flying physiologically.
We talked about this before the show started tonight, that usually I'm not the one doing the science doesn't work that way bit, but I had a moment in this film when they initially... I was saying to Robert, if you watch the original Dumbo, it's not that he's flapping his wings, because his bones are not hollow and he's not a bird. It's that he's got enough height and velocity going that he can use his wings to basically hang glide. So when they say flying, it's essentially...
falling with style.
Yeah, it's essentially parachuting. It's parasailing. He's not actually flapping wings like a bird. And the first time they show that that's the take they're going to have on Dumbo, that he can he can get enough velocity going, he can get enough energy by flapping his wings that he can actually get his elephant body. I don't know if anyone knows this or not, but elephants are really heavy.
Even baby elephants are really, really heavy.
They're not light. off the ground and actually, maintain enough airspeed velocity to just stay in the air.
What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen elephant?
African or Asian?
In this case, it would be Asian.
And so I had one of those moments where I actually thought about Robert Winfree. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't work that way. They don't understand pachydermies and physiology.
I'm winning. If I can get Mark to every now and then look at the absurdity in a movie and think, wait a minute, that doesn't work that way. I am bit by bit reclaiming the darkness that is the universe.
Yeah, so I didn't fixate on it too long because at that point you might as well just leave the movie. If you can't handle,
I wish I had.
If you can't handle that take on it, you're like, all right, well then there's no reason to stay here because that's literally all this movie is. It's oh look, it's the magic of a flying elephant, an actual elephant that flies like a fucking dragon, basically.
Yeah, again, that's the only thing I'm going to say about that because, all right, fine. This is their take on how the elephant flies. It's whatever. The very premise of the elephant flying at all, even gliding on ears, is profoundly absurd. To the point where it's like, okay, we're going to have a movie about how an elephant flies. You at that point are soaked in rainwater. There's no point putting on the rain suit, man. You're wet. Just live with it. So that's the only time I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah, I'm going to let you continue. But even I, Mark Radulich, who is just full of awe and childlike wonder, was like, nope, this movie is full of nope.
So they discover that the elephant can kind of hover a little bit, maybe even fly, and they decide to kind of work with the elephant in secret, not actually tell anyone. Because apparently...
Well, they tried. They tried telling people, and no one would listen.
Okay, in fairness, it's a stupid it's a stupid thing to... if an 8-year-old came up to you and said, Dad, this elephant was flying... but also, apparently, the first rule of science is if you're not curious, you don't deserve to know. So, thanks for that. God, there's so much stupid about this. They wind up selling Dumbo's... Danny DeVito winds up selling Dumbo's mother back to the person he bought her from because this elephant has now inadvertently killed someone and he can't do anything with it. So to avoid more of a scandal, he gets rid of the elephant, sells it back. Dumbo is... I would say this is supposed to be a heartbreaking scene where he watches his mother loaded into a truck and then carted away, but watching poor Colin Farrell have to act around the green, whatever physical thing they had in place of the elephant. I don't know if they just had a Great Dane or something that they just had a green bodysuit for or whatnot. I was like, okay, here, this is where the elephant's going to be, interact with this real thing. Or if it was just, no, do what you do. I don't know what the methodology there was, but I don't know. There was no emotional resonance to that scene. So again, the kids work with Dumbo a little bit to get him to actually fly. He will only fly with a feather because, despite being intelligent enough to apparently enter into some kind of loosely structured contract with the kids about why he will fly, he's not smart enough to realize that inhaling a feather is not actually causing him to defy the laws of biology. But he is, and again, I'm okay with it. If you
they were making use of the plot device in the cartoon about the magic feather.
Sure, and bear in mind it made more sense in the cartoon. Here it's just meant to be okay, the elephant is conditioned to such a degree that like Pavlov's dog, right? You ring a bell every time you show the dog something that it likes to eat. It starts salivating. After enough repetitions of this, the sound of the bell will trigger the salivary reaction. If you only tell the elephant that it can fly when it inhales a feather, A, this is terrible for the respiratory system. B, sure, fine, I'll go along with how conditioning works, because conditioning is a thing. The elephant inadvertently flies when a clown skit that he's involved in goes terribly awry, because OSHA's not a thing in 1919. Bear in mind, in some respects, that was better. But the elephant flies. This garners attention locally and nationally in just an unbelievably short amount of time. Pre-air travel. This news travels to New York, where we meet Michael Keaton's character, who is clearly not Walt Disney. How dare you even insinuate as such? Who sees news about a flying elephant and says, there's so much bad dialogue in this movie, and so much of it has to come from Michael Keaton. I feel so bad for him. At one point, he actually has to utter the line, "Get those kids." Like, wow. In this instance, he puts down the paper and tells his secretary, "Cancel lunch with the president. I'm going to Joplin, Missouri." Like, I sympathize with Abe Simpson. Like, no, there's only 49 states. I'll be dead in the cold ground before I recognize Missouri.
Mm.
So he goes down to see the elephant, and Danny DeVito is reticent about letting him see how it works because they're both con artists. They're both shysters. I shouldn't say con artists necessarily because, you're selling the circus and the entertainment experience, but you're lying your ass off to get people into the tent, basically. Like, you are shilling. And fair enough, shilling's we would be happy to shill here on this show if you'd like to, if you want us to read copy, we'll do it. So I'm not opposed to it, but that's what they're doing, and, he kind of recognizes that, I don't want to show everything about this lest I wind up screwed out of my one opportunity. We also meet, is it Eva Green?
Yes.
There's another actress who looks a lot like Eva Green who I constantly confuse her with, but this is Eva Green, okay. He shows up with Eva Green. Michael Keaton's character is, again, like this kind of entrepreneurial industrialist. Again, he's basically Walt Disney with a terrible toupee. He shows up. He wants to see the elephant fly. Because it's an elephant that flies. Who wouldn't want to both see it and then profit from it? So he makes Danny DeVito an offer. You can become a part owner of my company. You'll be a minority shareholder. You can bring the elephant. We'll bring your troupe. We'll see how things work out. We'll give you a permanent location rather than you touring around the country on the highways and byways and the railways of the United States. We'll give you a permanent shop. You'll be part of what I'm building, and the world will come to us rather than us going to the world. This is a deal that there's actually a few lines that he has in this speech he gives that I really liked, because I'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to detour too much. Danny DeVito accepts. They all wind up in, I believe it's supposed to be Coney Island in New York.
Sure.
Or some rough equivalent thereof, because one of the final scenes is this elephant flying through, I believe it was the Brooklyn Bridge, though it might have been the George Washington. Forgive me for not knowing the difference between two nearly identical suspension bridges. And then we get a shot of the skyline of New York, which in no way actually represents the skyline of New York in 1919. I mean, at all. At all. It's so stupid. So they all get brought in. They want to, again, kind of get the elephant flying regularly. They want to sell tickets. Eva Green's purpose is she's a trapeze artist, and they want her to fly around on the elephant. So they spend a lot of time off camera. They just ignore some of the best, when this moron wrote this script, all the potentially interesting stuff just got either skipped over or excised in favor of more crap to pad the runtime. So they're kind of training her to ride the flying elephant, and then they sell a bunch of tickets. They make the classic WCW mistake and just pay a lot of money for Michael Buffer to show up to do the announcements. The elephant flies, people are astonished, but Dumbo hears another elephant that's located on the Island of Terror, just one of the attractions at this amusement park. And, well, doesn't that just beat all? It's a small-ass world. This is Dumbo's mother.
Mind you, one of the plot points of this movie is that if they can get Dumbo working, they'll make enough money that they can convince Michael Keaton to go back and buy Jumbo, his mother. And I don't understand why they wrote that into the movie when 5 minutes later they were just going to produce her as a different plot point to bring Dumbo down and get the third act going.
I mean, I think so Michael Keaton's a little bit pissed that while the elephant did in fact fly, it wasn't really a show. And in fairness, this is a relevant point. I heard this about every great magic trick has three parts. In essence, you show people something, you take it away, and then you bring it back. In a similar fashion, every great circus act has three parts. There's the setup and the suspense building, there's the incredible feat, and then there's the come down. There's the elephant lands back on the platform after flying around, the audience applauds and marvels at the wonders of the world. Because in this instance, Dumbo, who didn't even have Eva Green on him because they apparently never rehearsed this with her having chalked her hands. She winds up falling off from this high platform and is kind of rescued by Colin Farrell. I mean, she's also deeply at this point pissed at Michael Keaton because there were no safety nets for this act, and because again there is no OSHA. And Dumbo again, after flying around this tent a few times, flies out and is gone, and everyone's kind of like, wait, I wanted to see more. I wanted to stand and applaud. Like, I'm not like. It feels.
Hey, you short. Get back here.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And when revealed to Michael Keaton that no, you've actually got this creature's mother, his response isn't, I wonder if I could breed her to make more Dumbos, or this is great,
or that's nice, and make sure the elephant doesn't fly off again. Yeah. End of movie.
Or make sure the elephant doesn't fly off again. His response is,
Gonna kill the mother. That way he's not distracted.
What kills me is the actual line he says, because the kids who, I love, one of the other good lines that comes from Michael Keaton, he has so many bad ones, but he's kind of accosted in his office by Colin Farrell and Danny DeVito and Colin Farrell's kids. And he looks at these kids as they're kind of petitioning him and goes, why are there children in my office? You know what? Yeah, man, I sympathize. But they say, we made a deal with Dumbo as though this creature's intelligent enough to actually honor a binding oral contract. We wanted to, he was going to work so he could get his mother back. That's the only reason he flies. And now if you just kind of, let them be together, he'll do anything you want. And he gets this kind of manic look in his eye and he goes, you mean anything she wants? Yes, this elephant is actively going to try to undermine you.
They cut the scene where the elephant demanded Sting money. It also wanted favored nations clause, where if any other circus act came in and got paid more money, they'd have to bump Dumbo's pay. I don't know if you know that or not.
I appreciate the gag, especially since I already referenced WCW. I was going to go with he learned in this instance from the WCW mistake and was like, I am not having Judy Bagwell on a pole.
It was at this point that Dumbo exercised his creative control and Michael Keaton's. They cut this scene where Dumbo is standing in the middle of the thing going, get up, Jared, get up.
No. What this really is this is, to go to the WWF, this is Bret Hart. During the last 60 days of my contract, I have reasonable creative control. And Michael Keaton goes, I'm the one who decides what's reasonable, pal.
Yes, and so...
something stupid like that. Anyway, so he decides to just kill the elephant.
Sure.
It's the dumbest thing.
Yeah,
There's so many dumbest things in this movie.
I have this attraction. It's costing me money. I know. I'll throw the baby out with the bathwater, figuratively and literally. I'll kill this giant investment that I have so as not to distract Dumbo. Because, on the one hand, he's reasonably intelligent enough that you can talk to him and reason with him and get him to commit to an act. On the other hand, he's so dumb that if you don't kill his mother, apparently Dumbo. What they figured out about Dumbo midway through the movie is that he has ADHD, and that he can't focus on any one task. Apparently.
Seriously, this movie never actually figures out how smart they want the elephant to be. He is intermittently a deeply bright creature capable of complex problem solving, or a complete moron. So anyway, they make this plot to again kill the mother and so that Dumbo doesn't get distracted. At the same time, Michael Keaton completes the heel turn by firing everyone else from the circus because, let's face it, they're not actually all that good relative to the quality of act that I already have. I stipulated I'd hire them and see how things went. They didn't go well. Give them 2 weeks. He actually agrees to give them 2 weeks severance pay, which was not contractually mandated at the time.
From what I remember, he essentially fired them because Dumbo's act didn't go well because he chased after his mother. That was his reasoning.
I don't know. My take on that was always, he wanted the elephant, and if it could get the elephant under contract, he'd pay everyone else for a little bit of time. He agreed to hire them.
Oh, so it's the Ultimate Warrior deal. Vince, I demand more money for WrestleMania. I'm just as good as Hogan, if not better, and I want time off and everything else. And and until you pay me these things, I'm not showing up to work. And Vince said, "You'll get everything you want." And then he got in the and then of course, then the Ultimate Warrior flew, and as soon as he was done flying, Vince fired him.
Yeah, that kind of that's kind of more the feeling I got here. Was he always wanted just the elephant, but he was willing to. If you don't mind stretching the professional wrestling metaphor a little further, Vince really, really wanted the airtime for Georgia, so he bought up all of Georgia Championship Wrestling and was just prepared to okay, fine. You can all stick around for a week, and then you're fired.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Mark and Robert talk old wrestling gags.
So, anyway, there's a somewhat complicated plan. Dumbo escapes during his performance. The other circus folk rescue. They intercept the attempt to take Dumbo's mother off to the glue factory. I don't know. It's never okay, she's not going to survive the trip. Fair. An elephant's a big thing. You can't just dump it on the side of the road, even if it's dead.
It's in a trash bag.
It's a lot of trash bags. Anyway, they rescue her. Dumbo escapes. The kids there's a big chase scene. The whole place catches fire because electricity was kind of a new thing. So
I have to admit, I nodded off for 5 minutes during this thing. And I basically the bit between Dumbo chasing after his mother and the whole place bursting into flame is a bit woozy to me.
Oh, it's the funniest thing in the world.
And I remember thinking to myself, when I finally kind of was able to focus and the movie got my attention again, I remember after I was thinking, he's not a dragon and he's not a bird. I don't know why he's flying. My next thought was, why is everything on fire all of a sudden?
Okay, no, this is the funniest thing in the world. Eva Green pilots him up to the top of this tower that is their control center that has all the gadgets and switchboards and whatnot in Again, I feel there's a pretty serious disconnect in the reality of this script where they set it after World War I, but all the aesthetic from a city perspective is 1940s. So she pilots the elephant up there, and they're trying to just turn off the power. I mean, there's actually one point when they say, we've lost power. Well, what about the cages? Electric locks aren't a thing. Power locks do not become a thing until like the 1970s, if not 80s. But no, here in 1919 New York, power locks, baby. That's so stupid. Anyway, she pilots him up there, and they're just going to like shut off some of the power, open some of the exterior gates. Again, this is all technology that I don't actually think existed. The two people who are actually paid to be up here and kind of know what they're doing stop Eva Green, and then Dumbo wanders in and just starts pulling levers with his trunk and turning switches back and forth, and they look at each other like, okay, stop the elephant. No, you stop the elephant. Like, never mind that Colin Farrell has spent the entire movie wrangling this thing with one hand. These two adults just watch this pachyderm. And bear in mind, it's not rampage. Like, Dumbo doesn't rampage. He calmly, like, walks from panel to panel, and if a lever is up, he pulls it down. It's and it finally shuts everything off, and they fly away. Michael Keaton goes up there to try and get power back, and he is informed reliably by one of his employees that we have to reset the entire grid, otherwise you're going to overload things and bad stuff will happen, and he ignores this. He goes full-on, like, 1930s movie mad scientist, rapidly flicking switches back and forth before this control board. As sparks fly, and eventually down in the park he overloads a breaker that catches things on fire. It's so absurdly stupid. Dumbo shows up to rescue the kids because why not? They eventually load Dumbo and his mother onto a boat bound for India, Asia, somewhere in that vicinity. The Danny DeVito's circus starts back up again. In theory, Michael Keaton...
No, this is the best part. The circus starts up again with all the modernity and social consciousness of a 2019 circus. No animals.
This is the dumbest. This is also like the dumbest thing ever. Like, okay, come here, where there will be no animals at the circus apart from horses, because like no one cares about the horses. Or maybe it's there's enough of a domestication kind of relationship with the equine races that we're okay with it. Species, not races. Species. My mistake. And Colin Farrell now has a hand that is like he gets a robotic hand that's more advanced than anything we have now. Because his daughter saw a display at Futureland that kind of inspired, like, oh. And she kind of, is now, somehow this 10-year-old is the precursor to the kinetograph camera, which is the moving picture that it's the device that Thomas Edison invented that basically gave us movies. And in fairness, the technology she's using was actually well established. And Danny DeVito gets to, speak heartfelt words into the camera, like literally into the camera. Like this isn't directed to the audience on screen. He's actually breaking the fourth wall during his entire closing monologue. Dumbo and his mother are released back into the wilds of India because you can just do that. And there's clearly no negative consequences to...
And then Dumbo proceeds to jump off a cliff and fly around this giant herd of elephants that don't freak out at all, by the way. They're just like, oh, it's a flying elephant. All right.
Like there's this scene during the original when his ears are revealed, and he's being toted around by a bunch of other elephants. His mother's not there, but other elephants, and they see his ears, and all the other elephants start like aggressively moving towards him because natural things don't like things that are different. You ever see what happens to like a goose that only has one leg? It doesn't really have a flock because they all kind of like, no, we don't like you. Get away.
Right. So the final scene, it's Dumbo is with his people. He's home. He's in the natural environment. Yay! No more circuses with animals. And he flies in there, And the elephants all just look at him like, "Ah, welcome home, prodigal son." It doesn't start a stampede or anything.
Yes, you are clearly the promised one who will lead our people to glory, not a genetic freak whose existence needs to be trampled out.
Yeah.
Which is what animals actually do to genetic abnormalities most of the time. They just kill them.
All right, so here are all the problems with Dumbo in a nutshell. I don't want to belabor the point. Colin Farrell is fine. Michael Keaton, though he keeps going in and out of a weird accent, is fine. Danny DeVito is probably the best performer, live action performer, in the entire movie. He's a lot of fun. He has some great lines in it, like, like before, don't do what I tell you to do without asking me first. At which point, Rongo, the black guy who's working with him, he's he's the bookkeeper and he's the strong man. He does all these different things. Just sort of rolls his eyes and walks away. That all that was fun. But the kid, oh gosh, what's her name? I think it's Nico.
I will look up the actress.
Nico Parker. Millie Farrier, Holt's curious, science-minded daughter. There's a line in Family Guy where they're desperately trying to get an Emmy. So in the first part of the Family Guy episode, they do a parody of Modern Family. And if for those of you who watch Family Guy, Robert, I'm not really sure.
Not in a long time.
There's an Asian reporter, Trisha Takanawa.
I know. Yeah, I am familiar with that gag.
So Trisha Takanawa, who generally speaks in a monotone, they flashed to her. She's like, I'm standing here with my two daddies, delivering my lines with more emphasis and emotion than the actual Lily on Modern Family. And when I heard Nico Parker deliver 90% of her lines in this movie, and 90% is being, a bit gracious. It's probably more like 99%. She literally has she's delivering them like the direction she was given was, you like science, you're Spock from Star Trek. Zero emotion. But here's the problem. Like, it's not even Vulcan that she's doing. It's more like she didn't know what her lines were and she was struggling to remember them. So she's just reciting lines verbatim without any inflection.
I imagine, behind the camera off to one side is a PA with a copy of the script and a giant whiteboard.
Yeah. Like, to be or not to be. Ah! She's terrible. She's so bad that when I wasn't thinking about how the physics of the elephant flying are completely asinine, I was thinking I couldn't stay invested in the movie because she's a large part of any one scene in that movie, and she's terrible.
So bad.
The kid brother's not bad. He didn't really do anything. Like, his whole thing is basically, if he's not feeding feathers to Dumbo, he isn't really doing anything in the movie. But his performance was like, okay, essentially the direction he got was, you're a dumb kid. Cool.
You're every quasi obnoxious young child ever.
Yeah.
Go do obnoxious young child things, and he went, sweet.
Yeah, he was fine. But yeah, Nico Parker, who I believe is like the daughter of another famous actress, she's fucking terrible. And I need to see her in something else to confirm that it either just wasn't the direction she was given, that nobody bothered to, maybe do a better take or give her better direction, or she just that bad.
Again, I mentioned this to you offline. There's one of my favorite gags from The Simpsons is the episode where they bring a film festival to Springfield. And a few different people from around the city make short movies to submit for the film festival, including, of course, Mr. Burns, who hires the non-union Mexican equivalent of Steven Spielberg, Senor Spielbergo. And he makes this movie that's just this it's a personal send-up. It's just, it's like individual scenes from all these other famous movies with him in the, in these godlike roles. In one case, he literally is like the role of Jesus from Ben-Hur. But one of them, when he's aping Pancho Villa, he's on a horse, and the crowd people go, "Viva, Senor Burns!" And then the horse gets startled and bucks back and kicks him off, but his foot gets caught in the stirrup, and then it runs off camera, back on camera, off. Like it runs back and forth across the screen a few times before taking off. And Mr. Burns, in the audience watching the premiere of his movie, looks at Smithers, who he's sitting with, and goes, "We did 800 takes, and that was the best one." I feel like that sentiment in this movie, like we see this, we see these just terrible readings of lines.
It really does come. Like I've heard like my daughter read, something for the first time, and she's a little unfamiliar with the word, so she's reading in a very stilted fashion. That's an 8-year-old learning to read. That's how bad Nico Parker is. That's how bad she delivers these lines, like a stilted, still learning to read 8-year-old. Everybody in the movie does stuff because the plot says so, and none of it makes any sense.
Mike, and I have to bring up Michael Keaton for just a minute here in this, because his character, they set him up, and it's pretty clear that he's gonna become the villain because, of course, just because the plot says so. But when they introduce him, he actually does a few things that make me kind of go, you know what? Maybe they're not going to do this cliched bit where he's the bad guy.
Right.
Just because he's the bad guy. And, I mean, like, initially he's offering to, again, buy the entire circus out, not just pay for the elephant. He has a bit of sympathy for Danny DeVito's character because he's, he's a bit of a shyster as well, just a more successful one. He wants the elephant to, perform and do well, but he doesn't set anything unreasonable.
He doesn't steal the elephant when
he doesn't steal the elephant. He doesn't say we're going to do 5 shows a day and they all better be perfect. Like, he gives them time and facilities to rehearse. He's a very reasonable guy for most of it.
I mean, he's not Vince McMahon in the boom '80s that do two shows a day, work 350 days a year.
Yet, because he does kind of get there apparently. They introduce Alan Arkin as the banker. I mean, again, there's just a few different things that kind of made me go, if they handled this with any degree of deftness on the part of the writing or direction, this might actually be an interesting take on things. But
yeah, unfortunately, it was like a little ways back, Disney, Disney looked at their assets. They're like, okay, well, we just got Lucasfilm. We already have Marvel. We've got the princesses. We've got 100 years worth of animated classics, some of which did very well, some of which not. Like, what are we going to do, to produce movies and continue to make money, just in our film line. Our parks are doing X, Y, Z. Our TV shows and stations are doing X, Y, Z. ESPN's doing X, Y, Z. We need to figure out what the future of our film department's going to be. And somebody in that group said, why don't we go back and do live action remakes of the stuff that people already liked and did well? And they're like, okay, let's put together a short list of movies that we think would do well in that would be interesting done live action. Well, Beauty and the Beast was a $1 billion property that made sense. They were already doing
a lot of Sleeping Beauty takes told from Maleficent's perspective, which despite being badly written in some respects.
So they have and then somebody at that meeting shouted out Dumbo. And they were
bear in mind, somebody else thought Pete's Dragon was a good idea.
They're like, that's fine. You know what? That's a great idea. Let's have somebody do kind of a weird take on Dumbo and see how far that flies. No pun intended. And then the movie comes across like they basically farmed this project out. And, and like, Tim Burton, what's your vision for Dumbo? Oh, I have this, I want to take, my usual aesthetic and apply it to like a circus atmosphere and really do like a modern take on it, on Coney Island, the circus, the whole 9 yards. And nobody bothered to ask, okay, but what's the story? Until they had already committed to Tim Burton and his aesthetic.
And it didn't help that they hired a writer who doesn't actually write believable.
So then Tim Burton turns
scripts.
around and says, "Okay, I'll get Aaron Kruger to write this thing." And they were like, "Okay, but what's the story?" And I was like, "Dumbo flies." That was literally that's how this movie comes across. Nobody thought this out. Nobody narratively had a take on it that was interesting. It was literally like, the story is Dumbo flies. Like, they watched the cartoon and that was their takeaway. That, what is Dumbo about? Is it about this lost child finding its way back to its mother? Is it about finding the confidence with it? No, it's about a fucking flying elephant. That's their takeaway. It was as if you showed this movie to a room full of fucking first graders. And like, what's the movie about? The Dumbo fly, the elephants fly. He flies. He gets a feather and he flies. And he can fly without the feather. And then proceeded to write a script that reflected that, that take on the movie.
Yeah, and look, let's be clear about this. And both Mark and I have said this. I don't mind when they adapt previous properties and they do things differently. I genuinely don't care. Like, I understand that the medium is different. You're going from animation to live action. You're going from a runtime of about 90 minutes to...
We talked about this with Beauty and the Beast. They used that as an opportunity to flesh out Gaston a little bit more.
They flesh out Gaston. They improve the relationship between Belle and the Beast a little bit. They give it some more depth. But these are things that actually enhance the overall story. Mm. And in the case of Dumbo, they went, okay, we're doing live-action Dumbo. And then, early in that process, like, okay, we're going to do a live-action Dumbo. You have to decide very quickly, okay, are we doing talking animals a la... seriously, are we doing talking animals like Jungle Book? Another billion-dollar property, by the way. Are we doing talking animals or not talking animals? And this informs a significant amount of the direction that the narrative and the writing and some of the tricks you have to use, that's all very much informed by that singular decision. And they said, we're not doing talking animals. Probably because it underlines the attempt at morality they get by setting them all free, because if they talk, then we know it's bad.
Well, also... You don't need talking animals when basically the only characters you're focusing on are Jumbo and Dumbo, neither of which talk in the movie.
Yeah, and again, I don't like, if that's the direction you want to go, fine. I genuinely don't care. There's perfectly valid ways to do either variable. Variation. God, I suck. But if you're going to remove the ability of the animals to talk, you're then going to have to get some of your narrative heart from the human interactions, and the closest and apparently they went, okay, we're going to tell the story about this World War I veteran who comes back and his wife's dead and his kids can't act and are now like just dragging. We're going to tell the story of kind of finding yourself after grief and loss, and we're going to use these kids and their relationship with Colin Farrell as kind of the vehicle by which we get the same emotional timber out of the story that you get with Dumbo and Jumbo in the original cartoon. And okay, fair enough. Unfortunately, this movie is now exhibit number 18,546,302 in pinning your film on a child actor is a bad idea.
The only other thing I can say that I liked about the movie is I thought Dumbo worked well. I thought as a CGI character, at this, it's so funny because over the last couple of years, between the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Planet of the Apes, we've seen CGI characters. Just look at the Marvel movies, right? The last Marvel movie, you have the Hulk is a CGI character. Thanos is a CGI character. Rocket's a CGI character. And they look great on screen. There's really not a whole lot of problems there.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Brilliant.
The Planet of the Apes movies, you would be hard-pressed, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought those are real fucking apes they were using.
The second and third one, more specifically. I have a few minor issues with the first one, but...
so just think of...
Wonderful.
you know, and there's still the argument out there that Andy Serkis should have won for Gollum. You know, like he perfectly well integrated animated character that he was.
He should have at least been nominated for Caesar, and he wasn't. And that that was such crap. And
so at this point, saying the CGI is good, it's really only news if the CGI is bad, because good CGI is attainable. We've seen it. I just gave half a dozen examples. So the fact that Dumbo's working, you know, Dumbo looks really adorable in the movie and is probably like the only selling point. Is like, it's okay, but it's like, that's your fucking job though. If someone hands you a project and says, do a live action Dumbo, first thing you got to do is make sure that CGI is where it needs to be, because it can be. If Thanos can look real, your fucking elephant better look real, and it does. But
if Thanos putting his hand on the back of Scarlet Witch's head after she blows up Vision can look as realistic as it does, there's not a whole lot of excuse.
But that's the thing. It's like, that's your fucking job at this point. Like it should. Like, and when I say like Dumbo's working, the CGI look really good. It's like, not a major accomplishment though, and that's a thing that I can say was good about the movie, but not good enough to raise it above the shit that is everything else about this movie, from the performances to the story to the fact that, you know, they ruined the heart of the movie, which is Baby Mine. Like, all of it, it was like, wow. I don't like Tim Burton to begin with. I think he's a hack, but I've never seen him produce something that was this bad. Okay, other than Alice in Wonderland 2, which was a pile of garbage, which I don't even think he worked on. Now that I think about it, I think they gave that to somebody else.
I'd have to double check. I couldn't tell you one. If he probably had like a producing credit, but I don't think he did anything.
Yeah, my point is, like, there are Tim Burton movies I don't like, but like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I don't like it. Rob doesn't like it. There are things about it that are good. There's nothing about this movie.
Aren't.
There's nothing about this movie that's really savable. It's like, you know, it's like things that were well done, that are competent, should have been competent to begin with. That's not a fucking achievement. You know what I mean?
Minor, and to kind of your point, even the CGI in a couple of specific cases doesn't look good. And again, largely it's fine. There's I can remember two off the top of my head of instances where I watched this and went, "Oh dear Lord, what did you do to that imagery?" The first one is when they're giving Dumbo like right before they take his mother away the first time, he's getting a bath, and then he hears her and he kind of stumbles his way out of the tub, and the animation for that wet elephant as he stumbles out of the tub is so bad. Like, it goes from, okay, it's a wet elephant in a tub, to it's a wet elephant walking out this door, and in between, something happens.
I remember, like, there was
and it's utterly unreadable.
I remember somebody, now that you mention it, I remember thinking that looked a little wonky. Like, somebody was saying, like, the difference between good CGI and bad CGI is how much hair moves. Like, if you see some of these movies, especially with, like, background characters, if the hair is moving in different directions, you know, not everyone looks like a fucking stormtrooper. You know, that's good CGI. The ones where basically, even though it's human heads and human hair, nothing is moving. They all look like Barbie dolls or Ken dolls. Like, that's not great CGI. And I remember thinking, like, with the when he comes out of the bathtub, none of the bubbles move, none of the water moves. It's just all moving with him. Yeah, that's true. The other one, the first time Eva Green rides him just in practice, and Michael Keaton is the first time he sees the elephant fly. When she gets kind of on him and he kind of starts flying with her on his back, that looks really, like, it's better. The other scenes where she's riding the elephant look better. This one in particular is like there's a disconnect between where
the elephant's body is moving and where her body is moving at times.
Mm-hmm.
That one sequence is also really rough.
We were going to take the kids to go see it last Sunday, and it just didn't work out money-wise, time-wise. And then after I saw the movie, I said to my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm not bothering with this. Just take the kids to Shazam this weekend. Don't bother with Dumbo. It's not worth it.
It really isn't. This was not. And again, like, the writing is bad from a fundamental level. You mentioned it, people do things because the plot dictates that they do it, not because they are driven by character or choices that they've made. It's just, hey, we need X to happen here for the sake of plot, so you're going to do X. Like, again, Michael Keaton, who's been presented as a relatively reasonable person throughout this movie, suddenly becomes evil Vince McMahon once the first show starts with the elephant. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else? Otherwise, I think we've thoroughly buried this thing.
Colin Farrell's Kentucky accent made me laugh.
Okay.
And I don't mean that as a negative. Like, it's not bad. It's genuinely not bad. He's actually kind of trying.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's bits of talent in this movie, but trying to tie your emotional core for Dumbo to a child actor who can't act was a terrible, terrible decision that should have been recognized by everyone involved and adjusted for. I mean, the sum total of her character is, well, you miss your mom and you like science, but you can't actually show that you miss your mom because you have no emotion.
Yeah, this was another one where, somewhere in like the second, third, or fourth draft of this movie, someone told Erin Kruger, like, listen, this is Disney and it's 2019. You need to put some SJW stuff in there. Like, okay. Like, I honestly feel like by the time Erin Kruger was done with it, like, he just didn't care anymore. I feel like...
You assume that he cared at all at some point. This is not a writer who cares about his craft.
I don't know. I think there was a point at which they're like, okay, challenge accepted. Let me see if I can, give a new and interesting take on Dumbo. And then after a period of getting notes, was just like, fuck it, I don't even care anymore. And the film, and honestly, the film it shows in the film. There was no care in crafting a story that made any sense.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Went into the narrative of this movie.
We talked about how, Pete's Dragon was more narratively cohesive than this. And you trashed Pete's Dragon.
Look, I didn't enjoy Pete's Dragon. Let me be very clear about that. You can find our review in the archives if you want more specifics. I don't think at any point when trashing Pete's Dragon I really said, these characters don't act believably. I think I said, again, there's elements that could have been written better. There's things that, here's how I might have done it. Here's a nice way to fix this maybe. But at no point in Pete's Dragon does the kid go, you know what, I'm going to save the guy that tries to steal the dragons is set up to have actual motivation for doing it, as opposed to just because the plot says so. The family that's kind of helping Pete out goes along with him because they care about the kid. I mean, again, elements of it I thought were stupid in terms of, you found a random child that's been living in the woods for 5 years. Let's bring him into my home with my own children. This clearly won't end bad. Again, silly, but at the same time, it's a smaller town that's set in. The kid doesn't display violent tendencies. Again, I'm willing to suspend a bit of disbelief for the sake of we want to try and reintroduce this kid to the world at large, so we can't stick him in a jail cell or an orphanage. So we'll have this good-hearted social worker, teacher, I can't remember exactly what the character was, put him up for a couple of nights. All right, again, doesn't make the most sense in the world, but sure, but I can live with it.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton going from, okay, the elephant's important to my plan for making money.
I need a central attraction for my theme park to I must kill the elephant.
Or I have this this French trapeze artist that I've spent time and energy turning into a bit of an attraction. You will now work on a flying elephant without a net.
Okay.
Like, okay, no, that makes no sense given everything that we've established about your character up to this point.
All right.
Yeah, there's just it's so incoherent from a narrative standpoint. Even
Yeah,
that there's nothing to save.
This was a big failure, and and I think next year is Mulan, and Maleficent, and Maleficent might be this year.
We have Aladdin this year.
Yeah, we have Aladdin coming up, which actually, now that I've seen a full trailer for it, doesn't look terrible.
You and I had vastly different experiences with that trailer.
I think Maleficent's this October. They moved it up. And then
isn't the Lion King coming out?
Oh yeah, Lion King too. So we've got quite a number of these coming. Over just in 2019 alone. So not off to a good start, Disney. But I'm sure you'll pick the nose up before it crashes into the dirt. And with that said, here comes the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money,
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
You were saying?
I was just going to say, if Pete's Dragon being kind of a giant turkey as far as this goes, it wasn't going to sink anything, this thing's not going to sink anything about this. Because, again, we've got Aladdin in a few months, and...
Well, financially, this might do well. I mean, it had 170...
It'll do all right.
Well, I was seeing... It was so funny because it was like I was seeing articles. They're like, oh, this might be Disney's first bomb. And I'm like, it only had a budget of $170 million. Like, the articles I was seeing were talking about the budget as if this was Ghostbusters, Answer the Call. Like, it's not a 250... or Batman v Superman. This didn't have that big of a budget, comparatively speaking. It is a $170 million budget. It makes $400 million. We're fine. It's good. We're at $120 million now. Here's the problem with this thing getting to $400 million, at which point, it's a solid win for Disney. I mean, first of all, Endgame is about to beat fucking Avatar and Titanic as the biggest moneymaker ever.
Boy, I hope so.
Then you've got Captain Marvel, which has already made $1 billion. Did
it actually cross $1 billion, or is it just still kind of hovering around it?
It's like $990 million. So it's almost there.
It will get there. I'm not contesting that. I was curious as to whether or not it had yet.
Yeah, we'll get to the finer numbers in just a moment, but it's between and Spider-Man. I don't know if it'll do $1 billion, but it'll be a hit. So with Marvel. Disney is making so much money. Okay, they can afford
a gaff or two on the
way.
Yeah,
that's the thing is they can afford if one of their films flops, who gives a fuck? It's a write-off. It's a tax write-off.
Especially something that they look. I don't think anyone expected Dumbo to do good numbers.
No, this wasn't going to do. But this wasn't going to do $1 billion. The argument that I made a few weeks ago was that Disney has goodwill with the public. People, these films they're remaking all have goodwill. People have good memories of them. People will go out and see them. This largely isn't successful content-wise, but I think it'll be profitable, and then it'll be like, okay, well, okay, faggot, what's next?
I mean, look, there's. Again, no one really expected, I mentioned Pete's Dragon a few times because that was the other one that I think you jokingly kind of said, no, this is a $600 million movie. And I went, yeah, you're smoking stuff.
I believed in Pete's Dragon. I love you, Pete's Dragon.
Look, man, you can love whatever you want, Godspeed and party on, but that movie was never going to do well. It was never going to be any good.
But Pete's Dragon never had a large audience to begin with. It certainly did not have Disney Renaissance,
Well, neither does Dumbo.
Dumbo, yeah, but okay, who doesn't know Dumbo at this point?
No. Again, your point is taken. I understand your point.
Nobody. I mean, when you see reviews of Disney music, you see when I see an elephant fly is always in there. Just like the Jungle Book. Everyone knows I want to be like you. All right, moving on. So
anyway, sorry. My point that I was going to get to was, so Dumbo not doing all that great is not going to slow down anything. If Aladdin completely bombs, and bear in mind, I don't mean critically. I don't mean just critically, or even just financially. If everyone hates it and nobody sees it, that might prompt some rethinking, but it's going to take something like that. Like Dumbo was kind of a shot in the dark. Like, all right, if it's a hit, gravy. If it's if it makes its budget, if it's loosely profitable, whatever.
Yeah.
We have two other movies the same calendar year that are going to blow the doors off of everything else financially.
Oh, and by the way, Star Wars is this year as well. The last of this iteration of Star Wars movies. It'll be fine.
Star Wars: The Last Apology.
Yes. Dumbo was the number one movie of the weekend. Weirdly enough, and I hadn't been following this, but Captain Marvel only made two weekends in a row, and then Us was the number one movie last weekend. This weekend it's Dumbo, which knocks Us to 2, Captain Marvel to 3. Unplanned debuted at number 4. 5 Feet Apart dropped from 4 to 5. Wonder Park.
Unplanned debuted all the way at 4?
Yeah, it did.
That thing is that for a limited release movie. Dang.
Wonder Park fell from 3 to 6. How to Train Your Dragon 5 to 7. Hotel Mumbai apparently opened up in a lot more theaters because it jumped from 39 to 8. Tyler Perry's Funeral 6 to 9. The Beach Bum debuted at number 10. Rounding out your top 20 or Gloria Bell, The Manchester Free to 2, The Lego Movie 2, The Mustang, Alita Battle Angel, Apollo 11, The Upside, The Aftermath, Green Book, and then finally, Isn't It Romantic?
No, it's not. That movie sucks.
Where we are worldwide, Titus worldwide.
Don't do that.
Captain Marvel is currently at number 1 with $994 million. So I would imagine, if not within the next 2 weeks, it'll cross $1 billion. So there's that.
Unless it drops, and bear in mind, I don't expect this, but unless it drops like a rock, to not make the $6 million necessary to cross that threshold would take a catastrophic. Like there would have to be some massive catastrophe where just everyone pulls that thing from theaters.
Yeah, Brie Larson's going to have to come out as a Nazi. The Wandering
No. Even that wouldn't do it.
The Wandering Earth is second place with almost $700 million. How to Train Your Dragons in third place with $500 million. Alita Battle Angel is kicking ass and taking names at $400 million.
Yeah, it's hanging around. It's not.
It's doing very well in everywhere but the U.S.
Well, it's a very, and I don't mean this in a negative sense, it's an anime movie. The anime audience in the United States, well, it's certainly here, is not a massive part of the populace. In places like Japan and China, where A, the property has a better history, and B, they understand more the kind of narrative beats that are being hit by an adaptation of that material, it's going to play better. I mean, it's the same reason that Tyler Perry movies make no money outside of the U.S.
Of course not. Glass, Lego Movie, Us, Escape Room, Dumbo, and The Upside round out your top 10. Like I said, Dumbo. None of these are going to last between April and May and June. A lot of this stuff is going to get knocked out of the top 10. So that's where we are now.
I mean, we've got Shazam, we've got Endgame, we've got Aladdin, we've got The Lion King, we have Star Wars later this year. None of these matter. Yeah. Almost none of these matter.
Yeah. So as far as, what's coming up in the next few weeks that might slow down the money train here, next week is Shazam and Pet Sematary. Your Pet Sematary audience is not exactly your Dumbo audience, but...
Hey. Look, it's a touching story about animals coming back from the dead. I can't say it with a straight face. I love that.
Where are you going with this?
Look, okay, I would take my 8-year-old to see Pet Sematary. That's all I'm saying.
Terrific. However, Shazam is coming out this weekend, so that's going to bite into ticket sales for Dumbo. The following week is Hellboy. That's the big one. Also, you have After, Little, and Missing Link, which is a kids' film released by United Artists. My God, United Artists is still around.
Yeah, who'd have thought?
So, between Hellboy and Missing Link, I think, that again bites into Dumbo a little bit more. The following week is The Curse of La Llorona. So, if it... and then... Yeah. by the 19th, it pretty much needs to make all the money it's going to make, because after that is Endgame, which is going to take over the fucking theater. It's just...
Look, man, Endgame is not just a subtitle for the Avengers. It's Marvel. It's like Disney's shot at the rest of this all of film. Like, no, this is the end for you.
Yeah. So basically, Dumbo, it's gonna. That's what I think. I think it bottoms out about $400 million. I think it gets there by the time it's out of theaters, but I can't imagine it's going to go any higher than that, because it's only got a couple of weeks, and those weeks are, except for one, are pretty well contested with the audience that's going to go see this thing. And then once Avengers comes out, it's over. No one's seeing anything else. Though I have kind of a funny story about that today. So, Avengers tickets went on sale, and went on sale about 8 o'clock this morning, and almost instantly the AMC app fucking died. It just crapped out. The website crapped out.
Apparently they just shattered all the records for ticket sales the first day advanced ticket sales are available.
Yeah, tripled by I think is what I last heard. So the AMC app completely crapped it. Like if you use Goodrich or something else, I think if you used Fandango, though, they had a thing where you were like on a virtual line to buy a ticket. Most other places you could get your ticket, not through the AMC app and not through the AMC website. We wrecked that thing. Their servers just went belly up. So I ended up driving to the movie theater and just buying my ticket at the...
I'm going to wind up doing that, I think, like in the next couple of days. I'm going to see if there's I can probably get to a midnight showing, which I'm so torn on, because I don't mind it, but I hate people, and those are always... I mean, they're always relatively... They're not usually, packed, but they're crowded. And, I maintain, one of the worst experiences I've ever had watching a movie was the midnight showing of the first Avengers, because no one in the audience would shut up about laughing after every line of dialogue.
That sounds like a horrible experience. So
it was terrible! That movie and my experience with it was largely saved by going back within the next couple of days, during the day, which was still a very, it was the Avengers. Everyone saw it 3 times, so there were a lot of people there. But the audience was willing to shut up and let a line of dialogue sit for a beat.
Yeah. So about lunchtime, I got out of work. I'm between 2 buildings, so I leave the first building. I'm supposed to be going to the second building. I'm like, let me take a trip over to the AMC theater in my neighborhood, and I'll just buy and I'm hoping to God one of 2 things isn't happening. I'm hoping everybody else hasn't figured out what I just figured out, which is go to the theater, or I'm never gonna get a ticket. So I'm hoping the place isn't fucking mobbed with nerds. It wasn't, thank God. And then the other thing, I was like, I'm hoping I don't get there. And they're like, yeah, our servers are down. We can't sell you anything except for movies for today. That didn't happen either. It was a perfectly pleasurable experience. In fact, the ticket that I initially selected before the servers crashed was actually still available. That seat was still available for that time. I'm going to the 6 p.m. Thursday show in IMAX. Hang on.
Yeah,
This is the actual reason I'm telling the story. So as I'm walking away, this old man and his wife and their friends are they come up behind me and they go to buy the ticket. They and innocently and in the cutest voice, they're just like, "Your website appears to be down. We just want to buy tickets for Dumbo." I'm giggling to myself as I'm walking away.
Yeah, I figured if I went to the 10:30 show on a Tuesday, I might be able to get into a theater for Dumbo and not deal with a bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
2 things about this. One, this is the important thing. It's spring break this weekend, or this week for the the local school districts. So when all these little snot rags are normally in school and I can enjoy a theater experience in peace and quiet, they're now out, and their parents don't want to deal with them. So they offload them to the grandparents who take them to see Dumbo. And I was like, I kind of went, okay, you know what? I'll go. It won't be that bad. It'll be the 10:30 show. what I mean, I didn't expect to be the only person in the theater, although that is a glorious, glorious experience. But I figured, it won't be that bad. And then as I pull into the parking lot for the mall, and I see the minivans, and I realize I have this sinking sensation in my stomach, like, no, my friend, you have badly miscalculated. And I get out and I can hear them. I can just hear them talking, and I go, you know what? They're only here for one reason. They're not here to do anything other than go to this movie. And you didn't think about this you didn't think this through, did you? So I got to berate myself. Fortunately, I also know how to pick seats, so I always wind up by myself. That was great in this instance, because like I had two empty, like I just find a group and then sit like one off of them to one side or the other with only like two seats free on the other side of you, and no one's gonna take, like, you're not really gonna find one other individual to fill up one seat. The other two are probably not going to be that bad, so I was very fortunate in that I kind of have learned how to pick seats, even in crowded theaters, that can ensure I don't have to sit next to anyone.
All right, and with that said, I think, there's really nothing less to say in terms of money here, so let us move on, because I've got a question for you.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I'm going to read a mix here of both rotten and fresh.
Look, anyone who's just, like, I imagine there's plenty of people who even gave this a negative review who just said stupid things.
Ian Thomas Malone. Dumbo of Ian Thomas Malone.
You self-employed loser.
Dumbo's needlessly over-the-top third act is one of the most chaotic disasters ever depicted in a Disney film.
Hang on. Okay, I genuinely want... That's a pretty bold claim. I want to see if it holds up under scrutiny.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought about was the black hole.
I haven't seen the black hole.
Okay, it's been years.
But I will absolutely take your word for it in that respect. I know the basic premise of the movie.
Mm.
I'm gonna go ahead and say if it's not the absolute worst, it's probably top 3, and at that point I'll allow for a little bit of individual interpretation.
Jason Escamilla of Eskimo TV. If you have kids, take them. If not, you should probably stay home.
No, don't expose your kids to this.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Which is probably a sentiment that... Oh, God. Did you see the live-action Dora trailer?
Yes.
Man, does that look like crap.
Vicky Roach of the Daily Telegraph Australia. Dumbo is an immensely satisfying blend of spectacle, emotion, and showground ride.
Okay, shut up. Look, I know Australia's on the literal other side of the planet, but things are not inverted. What about this movie did you find emotionally satisfying? I'm just curious.
Chris
Knight... Was it the little girl who just sat in front of the Marie Curie display? And with the same expression on her face that she's had for literally the entire movie.
Like she's thinking about taking a poop. Chris Knight of the National Post. Here's hoping Disney's next offering is more and less dumb. You got paid to write that sentence.
While I agree with the sentiment, man, you should return your paycheck, man. That's a bad line.
Tom Schoen of the Sunday Times UK. Eva Green, who is always the best reason to see a Burton film, she brings the delirious spirit of a young Anouk Ami or Anna Karina to bear on a movie that barely deserves it.
Well, you're a fanboy. Good to know.
Andrea Smith of the Sunday Independent Ireland. Millie, the wise child, utters many a loaded phrase. but I can't imagine the average child viewer will care, and with a flying baby elephant and Colin Farrell directed by Tim Burton, what's not to like?
Colin Farrell directed by Tim Burton, as well as literally every line of dialogue uttered by that same character you just referenced. Millie the Wise Child. Oh, loaded lines. No. That I can't possibly understand how you arrived at that conclusion. It just doesn't make sense. That is the most logically inconsistent thing conclusion you could have possibly arrived at, is that somehow Millie is good for this movie.
William Venegas of La Nacion, Costa Rica. Go to the movies to see the elephant still fly in 2019.
Wow. I mean, that's not a review. That's a bad piece of ad copy. And that, again, like, that's not even good ad copy. That's bad ad copy. That's just not good. Like, that's not a review. It's an advertisement, and it's a pretty poor one. Shame on you.
Laura Delaney of RTE Ireland. Tim Burton's live-action take on Disney's 1941 animated classic struggles to get off the ground. In fact, it struggles to find the elephant in the room. I got paid to write that sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a good sentence. What's with the Irish on this movie? Yeah, that's really not a... I mean, I don't dislike the general sentiment that the movie sucks, but your phrasing, like, I don't know, man. That's not a well constructed thought.
Sean Burns of The Artery, and ART is capitalized. Get it?
Wow.
Get it? A Disney blockbuster ending with a celebratory shot of a theme park in flames would seem to be a statement of some sort. And if Tim Burton was still the filmmaker he was back in the 1990s, I bet he probably could have pulled it off.
No. Like, you morons who think that Burton made good stuff in the 90s, it doesn't hold up.
Matt Neal of ABC Radio Australia. The script is bloated and contrived in places, but it still contains many of the beautiful things and themes that made the original so magical. I could not disagree more. You
had a good point when you said the script is bloated and incomprehensible. That's all you had to say. Because really, it actually eschews the vast majority of the heart and themes that the original touches on. Unless you're one of these people who watched the original and went, it's about elephants flying.
I'm going to read this next one just because of the language she chose to use, not because of what the actual review says.
Okay.
Leah Pickett, top critic, Chicago Reader. The refurbished story, both numbing in its predictability and painstakingly woke, is the clearest indicator that this reboot need not exist.
I mean, I really dislike the, this doesn't need to exist argument because, again, a lot of people got paid to be on this movie and, they have to pay their bills somehow. That said, yeah, the needlessly woke line, that's pretty good, actually, because it's accurate to this movie.
Susan Granger of SSG Syndicate, this broad. Without doubt, the best parts revolve around the fantasy of a flying elephant. Yes, it's computer-generated imagery, but it looks so remarkably real. Ugh.
Okay. Let's start with the obvious. If you're doing a CGI-heavy film, it better look real. Otherwise, what's the point? We talked about this a little bit. We are kind of beyond the point of praising CGI for actually doing what it's supposed to do. Second. So I lost a bit of what she had said there, but I remember.
Let's just move on.
All right. She's not worth the effort.
Matthew DeKinder of Suburban Journals of St. Louis. It's fun to see an elephant fly, but Dumbo never truly soars. What the fuck is with these people?
Who is paying them? You're all getting ripped off.
I swear to God, Endgame's going to be full of fucking reviews that refer to things being this isn't as snappy as the first one. Ugh.
not as snappy, and boy do we miss the setup of the early game because the end game is dull.
Yeah,
we're gonna get that. We're gonna get chess puns. Just
we're gonna get stuff like this. And I'm sorry, if I ever see Matt Brunson from Creative Loafing in real life, I'm gonna punch him dead in the face.
and punch him in the dick.
Earmarked for disaster.
Wow. Wow, that's
Matt
bad.
Brunson, you hack. You fucking hack.
I have to laugh because otherwise I'd cry. Good God. That's so bad. Yes, punch that man. Someone who knows that guy. I want you to throw, like, gas station quality sushi at him.
Take a giant salmon and hit him in the fucking face with it.
Oh, that's such a bad line.
Good God. Let's see.
And the media
here.
wonders why we hate them. Because you're right like that, man.
Barry Paris of Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Director Tim Burton's live-action remake is considerably darker, but true to the enduring original in many respects.
No, it's not.
No.
And I could have told you were going to arrive at a stupid conclusion when you can't have the common sense to live somewhere other than the city of Pittsburgh.
David I don't know how to pronounce this. Oxides, Synergetica. A great film with an exceptional narrator.
Oh, shut up.
He's trying to get invited places.
That or he wanted to post that on April 1st.
Let's see here. Pete Hammond of Deadline.
None of that was accurate.
Pete Hammond of Deadline Hollywood Daily. It's not the original, but in Tim Burton's live-action reimagining of Dumbo, you will still believe an elephant can fly.
I mean, how is that even a sentence that's meant to express qualities of the film? They're literally going to show you an elephant fly in the movie. That's part of the premise. And you will believe. No, I'm going to watch it happen on screen, and I'm going to marvel at how bad elements of the moving CGI are at times. I don't believe an elephant can fly because it can't. I'll go along with your story because it's a movie, but an elephant can't fly.
All right, so this is Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis of Schmoes Know. Both of Schmoes Know. These fucking people.
I hate these people so much.
There were some good moments, but Tim Burton just hasn't had a hit in a long time. I think the magic's gone. You think, Christian? And credit to Tim Burton.
Allow me to speculate about how a man who hasn't made a good movie in nearly a decade might have lost his touch.
And Mark Ellis says, credit to Tim Burton's direction and all the effects and crew. The sight of the elephant really conjured some emotions out of me. Okay.
Like what? I mean, look, you react emotionally to what you react emotionally to, fair play. But the sight of the elephant flapping a non-existent set of muscles along the back of its head to get its ears moving. Like, its body at times is moving like the wings are on its shoulders, but they're on its head.
Richard Von Busek of Metroactive. The film isn't Burton's worst, but it plays more like Spielberg doing kid fodder with the help of Burton as production designer. The movie is a white elephant.
Okay, that's a bad pun, man. That's a bad line. That's just a bad line. That said, elements of the point about this, about what the movie feels like, yeah, I can kind of get behind that.
Lee Patch of Herald Sun, Australia.
Mostly, though, how dare you bring up the color of the elephant?
The superb direction of Tim Burton and the acting of a well-cast ensemble both fit the bill perfectly.
Oh, shut up. Look, fair point to one bit of this. If you cut everything involving the kids, sure, it's a well-cast ensemble. I will absolutely go with that. Everything that does not involve either of those kids just dragging everything about this film down into the gutter, sure, Colin Farrell's acceptable, Eva Green's fine, Danny DeVito is Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton's great. Like, sure, that's a well-cast movie, until you realize that they're going to try and tell the majority of the story through the lens of these child actors who are 800-pound turkeys strapped around the neck of this movie.
Can't find a good one to end with. They're all kind of a lot of elephant puns, which
Why? Just why would you? Why? Why go for that low-hanging fruit?
These are terribly uncreative people.
Because if I can't somehow make it about Trump, I have to go with bad puns based on elephants. Okay.
Yeah, here's a good one. Brian Viner of the Daily Mail UK. A few good songs might have helped.
In fairness, he's not wrong. Except, and here's my big except, at least two of them would have been sung by the girl.
Yeah. All right.
And that's just a miserable.
Here's what we're ending with. Your grandpa, Joe Morgenstern of the Wall Street Journal.
Old man Morgenstern.
It's astounding that Tim Burton and his colleagues could have created such a downer from a long-beloved source of delight. Well,
no. Yeah. No, it's not, because I've actually seen a Tim Burton movie in the last 10 years. I mean, you clearly didn't see Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where he did exactly the same thing.
All right.
Like, hey, this is a relatively beloved story aimed at children. Let's have Tim Burton, and he'll cast Johnny Depp, and we'll have a bunch of CGI'd midgets. What the
Okay, we're actually going to end on this one, because this is like the dumbest thing ever. Chris Hewitt of Minneapolis Star-Tribune, top critic. Dumbo expands on the original with enough new ideas to justify itself.
Okay. Anytime you write about a movie justifying itself in the positive or the negative, you suck at your job, and you don't understand a fundamental reality of filmmaking. And look, I get that there's a lot of critics that focus on the art of the film, but if you ignore the financial reality of filmmaking, you are unfairly coloring every bit of criticism you levy by ignoring that massive reality attached to it. It's one of the reasons we talk about the money here, because sure, we talk about the art and the film craft because that's important, but the financials behind this are important too. So anytime you mention something artistically justifying itself, you are completely ignoring the fundamental reason and mechanism by which film gets made, which is money-driven. You socialist prick. Second, no, it doesn't actually expand on the original. If anything, it clips a bunch of it in favor of crappy visuals and children running around with static facial expressions desperately trying to remember lines. Just no, none of it.
All right. I think we've said all we need to say about this piece of trash. Let's move on. Next week is Shazam. Shazam is looking at 92% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure I'll love it. I'm sure Rob will.
Hang on, look, hold on. The first trailer, when I saw it, I went, yeah. The second one gave me a little more hope, except for like one scene of Mark Strong flying that I really hope they have touched up digitally, because good lord.
Have you ever seen Big?
Yes.
Did you like Big? See, that's what I'm afraid of. Is that basically this is Big with superpowers, and you're not going to be into it.
I mean, look, whether I'm into it or not, I try to give the movie a fair shake on a critical perspective.
So next week is Shazam. The week after that is the Hellboy remake. The week after that, I will be at Whitesnake, and so Rob Winfree, Jason Teasley, and Alexis Hana will continue doing Damn You Hollywood without me, and they will be catching up with a movie that's actually coming out this weekend. They'll be reviewing Pet Sematary. I hope you'll all enjoy that. And
because Mark just always finds ways to get out of doing things with me that he doesn't want to do.
Following that, it will be Avengers Endgame.
After which all film will cease being made.
We will take a break the week of June 6th through the 10th. But then we're back for just a straight through the month of May. We've got Detective Pikachu on May 14th, John Wick 3 Parabellum on the 21st, Aladdin on the 28th. That takes us into June with Godzilla King of Monsters on June 4th, Dark Phoenix on June 11th, Men in Black.
Hold on. With regards to Dark Phoenix, have you seen some of the reports after they debuted some footage at like WonderCon?
Just that they said this was always meant to be the last chapter.
No. Like, that's a load of crap. Like, no, we always meant this to be the last chapter. No, you made a pile of crap. And now you're just kind of pretending that you...
So what's the deal?
Again, they've debuted some footage, and apparently Beast at this point is just a werewolf.
Okay.
By which I mean not just how he looks, but that he can go back and forth indiscriminately. Apparently the Phoenix is actually going to be a bit of a cosmic entity, thankfully. So, but Jennifer Lawrence appears to be in just full on. Like, if you thought she was phoning it in for the previous X-Men movies, boy howdy.
Okay.
Like, nothing really positive has come out of. They didn't even do normally they'll do kind of a Q&A with like the cast and the director and whatnot. Nope.
Got it.
Everyone is starting to distance themselves from this.
Good God.
Because it's like, I have no hope for this. Like, I saw the first trailer and went, so one of the same writers from X-Men: The Last Stand, which horribly butchered the same story, is now trying the same story again with basically the same narrative beats and a new cast, and it's going to suck just as much.
Terrific. We got Men in Black International on June 18th. Speaking of giant piles of trash, Toy Story 4 on June 25th.
Good grief. I saw that you'd posted some kind of reaction to the trailer and went, why didn't you invite me?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was... God, this is one of those rare times where I'm like, you really should have stopped with the third one. This sucks. We take a break for July 4th week, and we come back with Spider-Man, take another break, and we come back for The Lion King on July 23rd, then Once Upon a Time, July 30th. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, rather. Depending on whether or not it actually makes it to the theaters, or they just say fuck it and throw it on a Disney Plus, we're either doing New Mutants, or we're doing Hobbs and Shaw on August 6th. We're doing The Kitchen.
Oh, God. I have no interest in either of those. Like, I kind of petitioned for Hobbs and Shaw because
yeah, you did.
I thought it met all of our criteria, and you were just ignoring it, and I wanted to kind of rub it in your face.
Mm.
And
how'd that work out for you?
Then I saw the trailer and went, okay, I like Jason Statham, I like The Rock, I like Idris Elba. So why does this look so bad?
We got The Kitchen on August 13th, and then we'll do our summer wrap-up show on the 20th.
What is The Kitchen?
It's a comic book adaptation.
That's why it's on the schedule.
Why. And then...
You are so wildly inconsistent with your application of these things. I just want to point that out.
Terrific. Your mom's wildly inaccurate. Whatever you just said.
Not what I said.
And then quickly in September, we are in fact doing It Chapter 2. We're doing it on September 10th.
No, look, just bow out now. You're gonna find something. You're gonna find some excuse. You know it.
It's hurricane season.
No. It'll be a hurricane. It'll be a concert. It'll be a wrestling show that comes to town. You'll message me the day of the event and go, I'm just done with this day. Can we do this some other time? And me being an accommodating human being will go, sure, and then we'll just never do it. Like, you will find a way. I have no doubt.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make myself do this.
Stop lying to yourself, man. You're not even lying to me at this point. I know you're lying. You're lying to yourself.
And then on September 24th, we have Rambo: Last Blood, and that's that. I don't need to go any further than that. We'll deal with October when it gets a little bit closer. So that's what's going on. That's Damn You Hollywood. We got a lot of stuff to cover between now and September. I hope you'll join us for it. In the meantime, in between time, It's tossed salad and scrambled eggs week here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Yesterday,
I appreciate the reference. I'm not sure it's accurate.
Monday was Plastic Man on the Lam. Tomorrow is Children of Bodom Hexed. Next week, we got a split 7-inch. Half the week is dedicated to Shazam. The other half is dedicated to wrestling. We'll be doing an entire Metal Hammer of Doom focused on wrestling music. And then on Thursday, the 11th,
Hey,
I
can save you so much time talking about wrestling music. It all sucks. Seriously, they're a great, and I think like Jim Johnson has acknowledged this. Like, no, all you need in wrestling is a great hook. That first 6 seconds, that's it. That's the selling point, and everything else is just mindless repetition.
I tell you what, you're not kidding about the repetition part. I love the Revivals music, but it's literally this, like, they do like a great first part of it, and then they just repeat that 3 more times.
Yeah, I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme. You have the glass shatter that gets the crowd to pop. You have the first guitar riff, and then they just repeat that guitar riff for as long as it takes Steve Austin to walk to the ring.
So we will sum up WrestleMania weekend on April 11th with another TV party tonight. And then the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, it's Countdown to Endgame with Robert Winfree leading the charge. Myself and Alexis Hana will be joining him to walk you through memory lane, all the Marvel movies past up until Infinity War. So we'll be doing Phase 1 on the 12th, Phase 2 on the 19th, and finally Phase 3 on the 22nd. After I will already have seen Avengers Endgame, by the way.
Probably me as well, in all fairness. I've been looking for different, like, for what the intro music for that is going to be, because I know it's the Avengers theme, but there's, 18 different slight variations on that same chord progression. So I've been trying to figure out which one I really want to use and then find it. I think I'm going to, if I had any kind of sound editing software, I would just do that, like that really sad, like, piano chord that they have during the mid-credit scene from Infinity War when the Avengers sign just fades into dust. And then right after that, I would cut to, like, that Thanos quote, that Thanos' line, like, the end is near from the trailer. Can I just say, like, that the other trailer for Endgame that dropped, like, the last line you hear is from Thanos. He goes, "You couldn't live with your failures, and that has led you back. And look where that's led you, right back to me." That's such a great line.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I was thinking about this today. I'm like, probably not since maybe Return of the Jedi or the third Matrix movie have I been this excited about the conclusion of a movie series. Not even Lord of the Rings. Like I was excited about it, but like I also knew what was going to happen. He fucking gets rid. Spoilers. The ring gets destroyed. They win. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I was happy to see the end of it. It's still one of my favorite trilogies of all time because of all the emotional set pieces and all that. But like, I don't remember having this level of anxiety about the end of it. Like Return of the Jedi, I remember as a kid, and I think we don't need to get into a debate about fucking Star Wars. But
I'm not. What you're bringing up is not stuff I feel compelled to debate.
Okay, but I remember Empire leaves with such a cliffhanger where you're just like, what are they going to do? Where's Han? How's it going to happen? Like, what's going to happen now that he knows that Darth Vader's his father? Oh my God! Like as a kid, I remember like I could not wait for Return of the Jedi to come out, and I had demanded my dad take me like opening day because I had to see how the story ended, and then I remember like I'm not the world's biggest fan of the Matrix movies. But the way The Matrix Reloaded ended prompted so much debate among my friends and so much conversation that I really was like super anxious to see how are they going to resolve it? How are they going to explain how suddenly he had Matrix powers outside of the Matrix? And how they were going to conclude the story. And even like not being a huge fan of that series, like I really wanted to know how it was going to end.
That final shot when you pan back to see the guy that Smith took over laying next to Neo and then just smash cut to credits is great.
Yeah. So, off the top of my head, those are probably the two examples I can think of where I have this level of like, I don't know what's going to happen in this movie, and I need to know. Like, I'm dying to know how they're going to resolve this. And what kills me is they've said they're not showing you any more than the first 15 minutes of footage. If that's true, and within the first 15 minutes they're flying off to the garden to go fight Thanos, like, what the fuck is the rest of the movie about then?
Well, if I had to get, like, if that's
well,
true,
I know that that there's going to be time traveling elements to it, but like,
look, if I had to guess, they're gonna suit up. They're gonna go fight Thanos relatively quickly. They're gonna blow up the Time Stone, and that's going to fracture reality. And then the rest of the movie is the individual Avengers going through different. Yeah, then we get Avengers in Time, where they're all just kind of muddling through different periods, trying to get back together and then actually stop him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm joking. I don't actually think that's what's going to happen, but yeah, time travel's involved for sure. It's got a 3-hour runtime. Yeah, time travel will be involved.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's just like for them to get to Thanos so quickly, as the movie begins, and there's still 2.5 hours to go. Like, this is what I mean. Like that, this is producing so much like excitement and anxiety that I haven't felt since The Matrix or before that Return of the Jedi. And I was a little kid when Return of the Jedi came out.
You know what they might do is just have the first 15 minutes be them flying out, confronting Thanos, and then then the rest of the movie is a flashback to how they got to that point. and bear in mind, I don't hate that as a device. I really don't. It would also mean they're telling the truth about, no, we're only showing you the first 15 minutes. Bearing in mind that the first 15 minutes actually sets up the climax.
All right, one last plug. I'm either going to be at a Kentucky Derby party, or Pat and I will be checking out DAZN, because on DAZN it will be Canelo, Saul Alvarez versus Daniel Jacobs.
Look, I'll tell you what happens right now. Canelo wins
120.
No, 253 to about 47.
Terrific.
I mean this is not as a joke. Like, if we ever wind up doing that thing again where I kind of bounce in and out of your coverage of, like, you guys doing an MMA event or something, at some point randomly I'm just going to come in Howard Lederman's voice go, well, Mark, I was torn on that round, but I have to give it to Canelo Alvarez, and I've got him up now in that one round 115 to 26.
And you'd be accurate.
And after 3 rounds, that puts Canelo at a grand total of 872 to Gennady Golovkin's 15.
Do your plugs.
I am the host of the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, usually recorded Sundays. Occasionally that will shift around. I might be doing that this upcoming, or in a couple of weeks, actually, because Sunday's going to be tricky. We talk about the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. This last week it was just me. Jeff is at WonderCon. I got to review UFC on ESPN2. We had Sweet Barboza on Gagey Violence for 2.5 minutes of glorious carnage. The rest of the card happened. There was some decent stuff. Jack Hermansson's win over Dave Branch was pretty sweet. Michelle Watterson had probably one of her most thorough fight performances. There was some terrible stuff too. There was some absolute crap on that card. So you can get a full review of that. I don't have a card there was no preview. I will actually have a Saturday to myself this week, so woohoo. Friday I will be making a one-off return to the Wrestling Zone of 411 Mania to cover Impact Wrestling. And I know everyone in that area was just so happy to see me go. That I don't think that's a joke either. Like,
why are you doing it? I guess because there's so much wrestling going on this weekend.
Because there's so much wrestling that weekend that Larry Zonka, God bless him, just asked me and said, "There's other stuff I'm going to be covering on Friday at that time. Can you cover Impact for me?" I said, "Sure." So the poor fans of Impact get to deal with me for one more. I mean, everyone was happy when Larry came back. I mean, Lord knows I was, not just because I didn't have to do it anymore, but because Larry's a great guy. And I think there were a few that kind of like, all right, we accept you as doing the job for a short period of time. But man, after I think they were kind of happy to see me go, and me coming back is going to be interesting. So Friday I will be covering Impact Wrestling. They just went full Lucha Underground and killed Allie last week, apparently, in the dumbest skit ever that included Kevin Sullivan. So who knows what the hell is going on with Impact. But I will cover that event, so stop by, say hello. That's always appreciated. And then, back next week for Shazam. When let me be clear, I don't expect to hate Shazam. I really don't. But watch Mark go, this was the funniest thing ever. And I go, Ant was all right, and he starts screaming at me for existing.
Okay. You're a bit hyperbolic. All right, folks.
No. You've done that before.
Okay.
It's not the norm, but you spend an hour and a half screaming me about Ant-Man and the Wasp because I said X part of it was just kind of meh.
Well, I found it highly inaccurate and insulting. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Damn You Hollywood. We hope to. Are we done? Can I?
I don't have anything else to plug.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off there. Yes, and we hope to offend you sometime in. God damn it! Where's the exit music? There. Wow, I can't read. And we hope to offend you sometime in the future.
Springtime tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
Did you know there were over 1 million bubbles in a glass of champagne? Did someone say brunch?
Leave the egg hunting to the kids. We'll have even more fine hunting for your brilliant brunch Riesling.
Ham's sweet and salty richness pairs perfectly with sweeter wines with bold fruit. How about a juicy Pinot Noir?
Whether you're hosting or just bringing the wine, Total Wine & More has you covered with 8,000 wines, 3,000 spirits, and 2,500 beers at always low prices. Cheers!
Head to Court Furniture Clearance Center for up to 70% off new retail prices. Stock is updated regularly, so you never know what kind of treasures you'll find. We offer a wide variety of stylish furniture for any budget, and every piece is Court certified, so you can let your personality show in every room. And now through April 3rd is our tax refund sale. Mention Refund 25 and take 25% off living room and dining room sets. Use your refund and refresh your home with stylish finds from Court Furniture Clearance Center. Go to CourtClearanceFurniture.com today.